Knowledge is power. Education is liberation.
Hey, I've heard that before. Where am I?
It is 1872, Imperial Germany, where professors and whores are always to be bought for money.
Are you Karl Marx?
No. I am Wilhelm Liebknecht.
Oh, I was so very hopeful.
I am a German Social Democrat. What are you?
I am a music teacher. I am a modern wage slave and property of the state.
Nice to meet you. So often these slogans I began with are turned against us as a counter to our assertion that the primary concern of workers must be directed toward the transformation of state and social relations, and that the pursuit of education, solely for education's sake, is nothing more than a frivolous waste of time. It is neither to the advantage of the individual or the whole of society.
I myself teach young people the ways of the world and teach them how to be productive individual citizens in the 21st century. I have been taught that teaching music for music's sake is not a frivolous waste of time.
Oh. Well, perhaps you seek to neither to oppress nor exploit, or to preserve knowledge as the monopoly of class, and to withhold it from others.
I teach children to read and write. I teach them to sing beautifully. I teach them musics from the past. I let them bring to class music they like, as long as the lyrics are not offensive. I teach them to collaborate and to communicate by raising their hand and waiting to be called on with the correct answer. I am all about critical thinking. They analyze, evaluate, and synthesize. In that order, of course. Is this not educating the worker?
Reading and writing alone are not learning. They are only tools for the acquisition of particular kinds of learning.
My students are also creative inside set parameters. They solve problems that I choose for them, based on national standards and national curriculum. I also teach them diversity and multiculturalism, and that process and product are both equal. Well, almost equal. The transformation of the state must be something I will learn how to do in my graduate studies.
No offense, but your curricular goals seem more in line with reproducing existing power structures and not toward political or economic emancipation.
I provide students with an alternative to their other classes.
Yes, an education in music could be an alternative to an oppressive culture, with all other disciplines. But you continue to see your discipline as something separate, something marginalized. You continue to create social divisions with your incessant advocacy campaigns.
Are you suggesting that my content should be a means toward political and economic emancipation? I appreciate what you are saying, but I don't really care what I teach as long as music is part of the daily schedule. That is all that really matters.
You should focus on class consciousness rather than art. However, the music of Beethoven and Wagner is perfectly fine.
I don't understand. First you tell me I ought to focus on content that furthers the agenda of emancipation, and yet you tell me to program these composers. Was Wagner committed to revolutionary goals? Does this not weaken the ideological world you seek to create? You speak of interrogating the propaganda of those who desire to enslave, and yet it is the same tools you take on. You ask me to consider content that enlightens, and yet you refuse the music of the popular culture because you continue to be wedded to one absolute vision of art and aesthetics.
You do, indeed, raise many of the competing purposes and tensions in the development of curriculum for the worker. There is an ideological saying which goes, as the schools, so the state. The real political translation and transposition goes more like this: as the state, so are the schools. Schools are the most powerful tools of liberation, and schools are the most powerful tools of enslavement, depending on the nature and objectives of the state. In a free state, a tool of liberation. In an unfree state, schools are tools of enslavement. To demand of an unfree state that the people be educated is to ask it to commit suicide. By its very nature, the modern class state presupposes the absence of freedom.
So you did not mean what you first professed, that education is liberation? It is only liberation if the state is free. Professor Liebknecht, you are not aware of the spectacle of global capitalism.
You are right. I am not. But I think I hear Karl Marx calling me. Goodbye, robot girl. Perhaps we will meet again soon over beers.